The SEC, it just means more, will be held between March 12th and 16th at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is the first time we'll have this league since it expanded to 16 teams. And it's a bear of a bracket. It's huge. You need a big poster board. Jim, I'll put you on the spot first. How many of these teams are getting into the tournament?
13. That's what I'm going to go with. I think they've got like 12 locks right now because I think Vandy and Georgia are like both definitely going to make it.
Yeah.
And
Arkansas a lock, right?
Probably not a lock. I think if they lost to South Carolina again, there'd be some long discussions about them. And obviously last time they played them, it was hideous. So they can certainly lose to them. And then I think Oklahoma's going to get in. I know the 6-12 SEC record is going to mess people up and they don't like that. But if you just took that off the team sheet, which it's not on the team sheet, the quadrant wins, 6 Q1 wins, and like the overall record, where they got some of their wins, like neutral sites and road, I think Oklahoma should be a tournament team. So there's your 13. Apologies to Texas. No, never mind. No, I'm not apologizing to Texas.
No, but everything that happened, see, how I want to bet this SEC tournament is I want to bet Texas 250 to 1. Or actually, no, I should bet Texas 250 to 1 and South Carolina 500 to 1 because the SEC puppeteers are going to make sure that we get 15 teams in somehow. So like Texas, it'll be Texas to the semis against South Carolina. LSU also maybe LSU wins it. I don't know. I'm just kidding. So obviously Auburn is the favorite. They're plus 150. They're the top overall seed. The top 4 seeds receive double byes to the quarters on Friday. The 2 seed is Florida. 3 seed is Bama in the bottom half with them. Tennessee is the 4. Keep in mind this is played in Nashville. 4 teams get a single bye to the second round. Kentucky, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. And then you have 4 first-round games, which illustrate the depth of this league in that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 probably locks playing in the first round of the SEC tournament. Alabama plus 425, Tennessee 6 to 1. Then you get down to some longer shots. Kentucky 19 to 1, Texas A&M 25 to 1, Missouri 25 to 1. We could go a million different ways here. I guess we'll start at the very top. Well, actually, I'll just ask you, do you have an overarching thought or when you first look at this or anything that comes to mind?
My big overarching thought is who wants to win it and like what's the mindset of the elite teams where like Auburn's locked into probably the number 1 overall seed or definitely at least a 1 seed. Florida, Alabama, Tennessee are all 1s or 2s. And like last year, Alabama lost right away and made the Final Four. Florida had a guy break his leg last year. Like Todd Golden's had guys get hurt in the conference tournament, both at San Francisco and Florida. Are they really going to go balls to the wall, even though I think they're awesome?
Hasn't Barnes said stuff like hinted at like it might be good to lose?
Yeah, and like Auburn has been experimenting a little. Like they played a bunch of zone at Texas A&M, which they don't really ever do. And obviously they weren't that sharp against Alabama this weekend. So I don't know. I don't feel like the elites are as untouchable as maybe the seeding resumes would indicate. So I wouldn't mind digging a little further down. I know you're probably going to wax poetic about your Aggies. I look forward to that.
I don't know if I can get there. So what I'm worried about with Texas A&M is, well, like they're playing in Tennessee, first of all, and they're probably going to beat Vandy in Tennessee in back-to-back games. I do like their matchups against Tennessee and Auburn. Like Tennessee, it's just going to be a rock fight. In the first game that they played, Tennessee went bananas from 3, and Texas A&M went 5 of 30, and they had a chance to win. Like it was like tied with like 2 minutes to go. Texas A&M is not a good shooting team, but they're not 5 of 30 bad.
They're more 6 of 30.
That one more 3 would have been big. It's probably that might have been all they needed. But the problem, I worry about Vandy against them and Vandy's shot making, which we saw when Vandy played them. But
Vandy sleeping in their own beds in Nashville? Come on.
yeah, but Vandy's going to get a max super effort from Texas. So like that's second, because if I was confident, if I was super confident Texas A&M could get to Auburn, I would like their price because one, the Auburn motivation. Baker Mazar gets suspended, maybe it's a possibility.
If he doesn't, he'll get himself kicked out anyways.
Yeah, he'll get himself kicked out. But A&M legitimately matches up extremely well with Auburn because how do they score? They get offensive rebounds and they get to the line. Auburn fouls and allows you to get offensive rebounds. And Buzz Williams just calls out Auburn's plays and they know how to adjust every single possession. Like Buzz Williams owns Bruce Pearl. He's going back 5 years. So it's like a legitimately good matchup for Texas A&M. But there's the Tennessee landmines in there. So I don't know if I can quite get there. And then you got to just trust that A&M goes 4 games in 4 days without someone going bananas from 3. And, all playing on the same rims in the same gym back-to-back days. I don't know. Let's start on that little section. Do you have any thoughts on Vandy, Texas A&M, Tennessee?
Well, yeah. So Vandy won the only meeting between them and Texas this year, but that was at Vandy, so they didn't get the return game. I just don't really trust Texas. Just the style, it's kind of archaic, barbarian ball of mid-range. Like they've got a bunch of one-on-one players. Trey Johnson's amazing. He's going to go in the first round of the draft, but it's like him, Jordan Pope, Traymon Mark, Kaluma, just like kind of trading iso ball, taking tough shots. Vandy's so much more.
Pin down screens for Johnson. Sometimes it works. Sometimes he'll go for like 38, but he just has to hit like a million tough shots, which he can do. Sometimes.
That's why like they're not sustainable because it's so tough consistently. Vandy's so much more analytically savvy. Like their shot diet's way better. They turn you over and they don't turn it over, which is really helpful for their shot volume. I like Vandy there.
Vandy can get bullied by some teams, but not Texas is not one of those teams that's going to bully them.
Yeah. Then the Vandy versus Texas A&M is like rock versus paper, where or not even that. Like Texas A&M can pound them inside, but Vandy's one of the best shooting teams in the league, and as you said, they're pretty prone to that with the way they're so compact on defense. It looks like a zone. That would concern me there for A&M.
Yeah. So that's what worries me there. In the top half, I might bet South Carolina again against Arkansas. See what number we get. But I don't think it's a terrible matchup for South Carolina. We'll see if Thiero is Thiero back?
I think still TBD. I would kind of expect him to play, but I don't know. Maybe they're like, because you can't say we're going to hold him out till the tournament because you don't know if you're going to make the tournament. So I wouldn't do that.
He does matter. I think he's one of the most important players. I mean, credit to Arkansas for what they've done without him. But I think South Carolina can work through Mary Boyles in this matchup like they did in the first meeting. Now, granted, Arkansas is not going to start 1 of 27 or whatever they did from the floor, but we might get a inflated number there with like, hey, Arkansas wins this game, they're going to the tourney. I might push back against that.
It's only 4 on Ken Palm. I think that's going to be like 6 in the market or something.
Hopefully. Yeah, 6, 7. Would love to get that. Ole Miss. Here's the thing. I mean, unless Auburn just really doesn't care, Ole Miss can't beat Auburn. Schematically. Auburn
those matchups
rips their defense apart.
Blowout this year. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I have Auburn in the semis. There's just no one that interests me among Arkansas, South Carolina. Arkansas's 150 to 1. If especially if they don't have Thiero, they have no depth. You're asking them to win 5 games in 5 days. No thanks. Ole Miss, for what it's worth, is 65 to 1. So, any prices in the top or any matchups in the top half interest you?
I sort of of the top 4 teams, I like Tennessee's price the most. I mean, they're the longest odds of the Alabama, Auburn, Florida group. And so of the teams that have to win 3 games, I kind of like Tennessee. It doesn't. I know you mentioned like Barnes has hinted at maybe not that winning isn't the best idea, but that team doesn't strike me as like having an off switch. So like the Meshack mindset, Ziegler mindset, like set the tone, crazy defenders. I think they'll be kind of dialed in. But 6-1 in this league isn't like great shakes anyways. So I'm not like strongly recommending that.
In the bottom half, first round games, Mississippi State against LSU. I'm kind of out on this Mississippi State team, big picture wise. Like they're going to make the tournament, but it's like they can't really shoot. It's like, does Hubbard go for 40? That's like what they need to make a run in the tournament.
They can't really shoot, and they don't have the defensive backbone that Jan's teams typically do. Like they're not quite that great on that end.
Yeah. The winner of Mississippi State LSU will take on Missouri,
who stinks right now.
By the way, 150-1. Missouri is how worried are you? Legitimately worried are you about Missouri and their defense? Gates late game stuff. Where do you stand with Missouri? And like, is your hopes of a deep run, have they been dashed?
Yeah, I'm really worried. Some of the lineups are weird. Like you can't play Trent Pierce and Jacob Cruz together because they can't defend, and we see too many lineups with them sharing the court. The defense is a problem. They should be better on the ball with Perkins and Robinson are 2 on-ball defenders, but they get beat off the bounce a lot, and the defensive rebounding has gotten way worse. Like they competed on the defensive glass with some teams in the first half of conference play and have not been able to sustain it through the back half. Vanderbilt grabbed over 50% of their misses against Missouri. Like that is horrible. I am hovering over the panic button with Mizzou because they just are trying to outscore teams right now, and they have to make a ton of shots to do that. And I don't trust them to do that more than once ever. Like they did it against Alabama 1 game, and then they ended the season on a 3-game losing streak.
Who shoots their team out of the tourney first, Caleb Grill or Caleb Love?
I'm gonna go with Love. I think Grill's shooting like 44% from 3. Man, I can't dig him.
He just had that one. What was that game that he did? He was horrendous in.
He went 2 of 12 at Arkansas. Was the
Arkansas
bad one? I think.
Yeah, in the second half he went ice cold. No, he's been great all year. So most likely Mississippi State, Missouri winner will take on Florida, the 2 seed, who's been amazing and probably not talked enough about. And maybe I'm not giving them. I haven't talked about them enough. Like I always say, like no one's talking about them enough, and it's like, well, I haven't talked about them enough.
Yeah.
I think the media part of that was like Todd Golden and all that stuff that was going on. So
if we talk about them, we have to talk about that.
Yeah. So like people didn't want to go there. But I think that they're clearly one of the 5 best teams in the country. By the way, you know who mine is? Maybe you agree with this. I think I've seen you tweet about it, but one of my top 5 best teams in the country is?
Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5th. I love that team. Picked them to the Final Four in the preseason. I'm riding that one.
I have Final Four futures on them too. Let's get it done. Texas Tech. I'll be in Vegas for Final Four, hopefully watching Texas Tech versus UC San Diego.
We can only hope.
So, yeah, Missouri, Mississippi State winner takes on Florida. Is that just Florida advances, so we can't even consider Missouri or Mississippi State? And
yeah, Missouri won at Florida this year, and they kind of like punked Florida early in the game. And it came back, was close down the stretch. I think Florida would be really dialed for that game for a little revenge.
Yeah, to get them on a back-to-back, you get that staff preparing for that game too.
The offensive rebounding would be murder in that game.
Yep, good point. So Florida, as you mentioned, plus 270. No interest in taking that price, but I don't have any interest in taking them on with either of the teams that precede them. In the very bottom of the bracket, we start with an 11-14 game that might be 2 tournament teams, which is pretty wild to say, between Georgia and Oklahoma. Georgia's been playing really well, like really well lately.
Yeah.
I was completely off them I was like, I don't want this team anywhere near the tournament, but I have to give them their flowers for how they've played, how they've backed up wins. Like going to South Carolina might sound easy, but going to South Carolina and just handling business.
Yeah, on a
Going down
Tuesday
to
after two big
Texas,
wins. Yeah.
yeah, trucking them. Then like that road trip after the Florida win was super impressive. I'm still very fearful of like their late, like what's gonna happen in the tournament is they're gonna like whoever they play. If they play like if they were to play like a mid major that can pressure you, they'd be up 8 with like 2:10 to go and lose, like getting pressed. So, but I have to give them credit. So Georgia and Oklahoma's playing a lot better as well.
Yeah, even some of the losses like have been really, really tight with good teams.
Yeah, easily could have beat Kentucky.
Mississippi
came down. Yeah, Ole Miss. Those games came right down to the wire. Any thoughts on that particular matchup, Georgia Oklahoma?
I like Oklahoma. Maybe they're going to struggle on the boards. I guess I should probably make sure of Sam Godwin's status because he's their best rebounder. And you want him back against that super physical, deep Georgia front line. But I love those guards. And it seems like Fears got through. He hit a freshman wall for a little bit, and he's way out of that funk. He's been really good lately, handling the ball a little bit more. And they've got shooting speed. I like that perimeter a lot. And Moser's been a pretty good tournament coach in his day. So I would lean towards the Sooners.
Well, Oklahoma's 250 to 1. Anyone can beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
So like Kentucky has, they're not going to play much defense. Probably going to be a shootout. Georgia, by the way, is 110 to 1. Kentucky is 19 to 1. Kentucky like plays up so well, and then like against the mid pack, they play down to them. It's an interesting team. Interesting how that would profile to the tournament because they're going to be like they fit all of the characteristics of a high seed that gets upset, which is so sad for Lexington because this just always happens. Now we got a new great coach, and it's just the team profile is kind of the same way.
The pitchforks would come out for Pope because like the knock on him when they hired him was he hasn't won a tournament game, and if he immediately got upset in the first round, people are like, we knew it. This guy's a fraud. I don't think he's a fraud, for the record, Kentucky fans. I think he's a great coach.
Yes, agreed. I've said that from the jump that I'd love to hire. Hopefully we can just get a run. Kentucky can beat anyone, but they can get upset in the first round very easily. Winner of Kentucky versus Oklahoma or Georgia will take on Alabama, fresh off their upset win at Auburn. I'm off the Tide as national champion contenders. Maybe it's a hot take. I get the upside. I don't trust their defense. So, if they're flaming hot from 3 all the way through the tournament, they don't have to be all the way through the tournament. At the very back end of the tournament, yeah, I can see it. But, like, I'm picturing them playing, like, in order to win the national title, I'm picturing them playing the other elite teams. And I can't trust their defense. Now, the pushback is, well, they just won at Auburn. Well, yeah, it helps that Auburn's beat up. One of their best guards gets thrown out of the game. So I don't know. Where do you stand on Alabama?
I'm the same with the defense. It's leaky. I don't think they're really very good at keeping the ball in front, which makes their interior defense get even further stressed. And when Cliff's not out there, they've got no rim protection, not a ton of like vertical athleticism. And then I think the sneaky part with them is that they're not that good of a shooting team. They have 3 really good shooters, Sears, Youngblood, Holloway, but then they let a bunch of bad shooters fire away. And I think that can shoot them out of games. Like people see, Alabama had a bad shooting game. It's like, well, because Aiden Sherrill and Jaron Stevenson and Grant Nelson took a combined 15 threes and made 2. They're bad shooters. So that's what, along with the defense, the fact that they can be prone to having bad shooting games because everyone has a green light is a problem.
Yeah, and they're shooting 40% over the last 10. There are stretches of 10 they were shooting like 32%, and everything didn't look as pretty. If I was an Alabama fan, I'd be worried that a stretch of those games might be coming. So Alabama is priced at, Kentucky is priced at 20. Hold on, I just lost my. Kentucky is 19-1. Alabama is around 4-1. I mean,
I'd prefer Kentucky for sure.
that like piques my interest for Kentucky, because that like, Alabama Kentucky is a legit. It just looks like an NBA game, and it's like, oh my god, it's fun to watch. But I'm like, all right, the team's up 12. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like it does. I'm catching 12 and I'm up 4. Who cares? Like they can go on an 18-0 run in the next 3 minutes. But Kentucky with their upside, they're gonna have a big fan. They always have a big fan presence there. Am I crazy for talking myself into that?
No, I don't think so. We know that the high end ceiling, like they're up there in the country in quad one wins because they play really well against great competition. Just sometimes their defense is a little leaky against lower caliber teams. Are you worried about no Jackson Robinson? Or are you kind of like, I think we've seen them without him look good enough that I'm not as worried. They've got a bunch of shooting.
Yeah, and he's not bringing anything defensively to the table. Yeah, not particularly worried. But the path is, like, they could lose to Oklahoma, and then you're probably going to have to beat Alabama, then Florida, then Auburn, or Tennessee.
Yeah, I guess that's not happening. And that's like why the prices are what they are. Like the cutoff after the top 4 is so crazy, because you're like, oh, you have to beat 2 or 3 of these elite teams. That's so hard to do.
Yep. So I think ultimately, at the end of the day, my recommendation, if you want to bet this,
just say it.
Taylor.
I just say it. I just say it. I knew that's where it was going.
I'm worried about the Vandy game, but I assume they're going to be focused there. Buzz Williams is a great coach. They'll have time to prepare for that. And Tennessee will be a rock fight. They match up well with Auburn. Who knows what's going on with Auburn? And then, you'll make money if they get to the final. The good thing about Texas A&M, though, is that they are a high variance team. Like if they just have a couple games where everyone's cold, they're going to beat you up on the boards, and they have been running bad from 3 for quite some time. So at 25-1, I like their path better than Kentucky's. Just given the matchups. Yeah. I don't know. But
yeah. My picks, I'm picking Tennessee. Just I feel like they're the one I know for sure, or I at least feel most confident of that top group. That's like I think they want to win this tournament relative to the Florida and Alabama that we discussed earlier, and even Auburn. So I'll go with Tennessee, but 5 or 6-1 isn't like a home run price here. I don't think there's like a uber amount of value on this league.
Agreed. I wouldn't fault anyone for taking Kentucky, but that path is brutal, and I wouldn't fault anyone for taking a shot on Texas A&M. I'll have a little bit on Texas A&M.
I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
If they win this, then they're definitely going to lose in the first round if they're going through this gauntlet. Everyone misses threes, and then they'll get upset in the first round. So I got to get my Texas A&M run money.